Ephesians 2, verses 1 through 12. My brothers and sisters, believers in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ must not show favoritism. Suppose a man comes into your meeting wearing a gold ring and fine clothes, and a poor man in filthy clothes also comes in. If you show special attention to the man wearing fine clothes and say, "Here's a good seat for you," but say to the poor man, "You stand up, or sit on the floor by my feet," have you not discriminated among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? Listen, my dear brothers and sisters, has not God chosen those who are poor in the eyes of the world to be rich in faith and to inherit the kingdom he promised to those who love him? But have you dishonored the poor? It is not the rich who are exploiting you. Are they not the ones who are dragging you into the court? Are they not the ones who are blaspheming the noble name of him to whom you belong? If you really keep the royal law found in Scripture, love your neighbor as yourself, you are doing right. But if you show favoritism, you sin and are convicted by the law as lawbreakers. For whoever keeps the whole law and yet stumbles at just one point is guilty of breaking all of it. For he who said, "You shall not commit adultery," also said, "You shall not murder." If you do not commit adultery but do commit murder, you have become a lawbreaker. Speak and act as those who are going to be judged by the law that gives freedom, because judgment without mercy will be shown to anyone who has not been merciful. Mercy triumphs over judgment.
Amen.
Give them another hand. Give them a round. Let's give all our babies a hand this morning. And for real, let's give all our parents a hand for making sure the kids are here. Come on, give your sons a hand. I just want to sing that one more time. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you. Oh, I want to see you. We cry, holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. We want to see you, oh Lord. We want to see you. One more time. Holy, 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 holy. Holy, yeah. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, yeah. Holy, holy. We want to see you. Dear Lord God, we came for no other purpose this morning than to hear a word from you. Where your word is, where your spirit is, there's freedom. So Lord God, we pray that you would speak unto us the words of life. God, I thank you for another chance to come to your sacred desk, Lord God, to minister your holy word. And now, Lord, I pray that the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart, be acceptable in your sight. Oh Lord, you are my strength, your honor, in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Good morning once again, peace.
Good morning.
There's Pastor Delonte Gholston. I'm senior pastor here at Peace Fellowship Church. I'm so glad that you all came out this morning to join us for worship. I want to talk for just a moment on the subject, on the thought, on the theme, judge. Judge. Why don't you look at your neighbor to the left or to your right And I want you to catch their gaze, maybe catch the white of the eyeball. Look them dead in the eye. And just say, neighbor. Oh, neighbor. Judge. Lord have mercy. Look at the other person you didn't see before and say, neighbor. I don't know about you. I don't want to be judged. This morning we're in the third week of a sermon series on the book of James, and we're calling it Faith in Action. And the first sermon of the series, I preached a sermon called This is a Test. And in This is a Test, we learned about what it means to be tried, what it is to have a faith that's been examined in the midst of doubt, in the midst of frustration, in the midst of hardship. What does it mean to actually have a faith that's not your grandmama's faith, not your granddaddy's faith, not just the faith you've heard about, not the faith that you read about on a website, but what is it about? What is it that about faith that is a faith that allows us to be tested, allows us to be tried? But somehow in the midst of the trial, somehow even maybe because of the trial, because of the test, we find ourselves experiencing an inexplicable joy. We find ourselves experiencing an inexplicable faith rising up out of the challenge. That's what we looked at first. And then last week, Reverend Dr. Alexia Salvatierra came from California to preach a sermon to us about what it means for us to look at ourselves in the mirror. And when we do, to recognize and to see the lies that we've been told. How many of us know that so many of us have been told lies? You ain't never gonna be nothing. Your mama wasn't nothing. Your daddy wasn't nothing. You ain't gonna be nothing. Am I here by myself this morning? Lies about black folk, lies about white folk, lies about brown folk, lies about Asian folk, lies about Native American folk, lies about queer folk, lies about women, lies about men. And when we look in the mirror and actually are able to see God reflected, Dr. Salvatierra came to remind us that it gives us the capacity to actually love somebody else. We can't love anybody unless we've been able to look in our mirror and see both the warts, the spots, the junk. Come on, say amen, somebody. The truth. Amen. But she came last week to remind us that when we can look in the mirror and see someone who is worthy of love, worthy of care, worthy of grace, it allows us to see not only how to love ourselves, but how to extend what James calls true religion. And James says, as we saw last week, that true religion is the kind of religion or spirituality that actually doesn't just love yourself, but that cares for the widow, for the orphan in their time of affliction. So she just came last week to remind us that it's if we can see our own affliction, that we can care for somebody else in theirs. Does that make sense to you? We still together? Amen. And so next week, a good dear friend of mine, my friend and brother, Reverend Eddie Anderson, he's the pastor of the McCarty Memorial Christian Church in Los Angeles, California. He's going to come and preach to us on James chapter 4 on this subject of faith and works. That James, the most famous verse in all of James, is this verse that says, faith without works is dead. And so Pastor Eddie, a brother with whom I've organized and built, he's the pastor of the Black Lives Matter movement in LA. He's the organizer with a group called LA Voice. And I'm just so excited that he's going to come and talk to us. He co-chairs the Poor People's Campaign in Los Angeles. But he'll be in D.C. next week to share with us from James chapter 4. But today, somebody say, but today, we're going to look at the first section of James chapter 2. I said 4, but we're going to look at the first section of James chapter 2. And this week we're just going to look at this question of judgment. Judgment. Are you ready to dive in? Amen. All right. First thing I guess I want us to understand is that everybody is hardwired to judge. Kids, we just can't, y'all have been in school for how long now? About 3 weeks? It's about a month now that we've been in school, right? And what do we all do the first week of school? What do we do? First of all, we try to make sure we have our fresh gear on, because we ain't trying to come up school without our fresh, at least our fresh kits. Most of us have to wear uniforms. What we're doing on the first day of school is we're trying to see, are our friends back in school? Do I get to play with the kids that I was with in my class last year? Are there new students in school this year? Are they going to be my friends? And so we do little things like we ask questions. Y'all remember, the adults, y'all remember we ask questions like, what kind of sports you play? What team you play on? What kind of video games you play? You get the last upload of what's the video games y'all play now? Fortnite, right? Y'all got the latest version of Fortnite? No, I'm still playing the old version. Oh, okay, let me go to the talk about playing the new version. Alright? Okay, we'll see it at PE class. We'll definitely see it at PE class when we get to the point where we're trying to pick each other's team. Okay, I want her. Nah, I want her. Nah, give me him right here. Nah, give me him. We just, judgment, if we're honest, is just what we do. Our brains, which are still being developed until we're 26 years old, they're hardwired to make decisions. When Camille read, the word that she read was discriminate. Right? And normally discrimination has a real heavy connotation. But all discrimination is trying to figure out who's who and what's what. I'm going to need to know, right? Even as we get older, especially if you grew up in a city, I'm going to need to know, you friend, real quick, I'm going to need to know, you friend or folks? My brother Ray, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, other Ray. Served in the military, right? And certain vets that only talk about their experience, but when you're on the battlefield, you need to know real quick, friend or foe, with me or against me, what side are you on? Are we together still? Yep. Well, my friend, Sister Christina Cleveland, she is a social psychologist and a believer, and she wrote a book a few years ago. It's called Disunity in Faith, and she says that the biases that we hold against other groups have the ability to wreak havoc on our cross-cultural interactions. Before we enter into such interactions, we must do the difficult work of addressing our biases and our blind spots. If you don't know Christina Cleveland, I want you to look her up, follow her on Instagram, follow her on Facebook, follow her on all the things, on Twitter. She just recently left Duke University because of all the white supremacist shenanigans going on down there at Duke University. She's a deeply committed follower of Jesus who has helped me to see the way that the voices of women have been left out of the ways that we look at Christianity. And she's on a journey, y'all, so I want you to come and follow her on this journey that she's on. She's a really dope sister. Check her out. But she's a professional social psychologist, and she's just here to remind us of the ways that our brains are hardwired. Are we still together? Yeah. And she uses this language of blind spots. And we all know what a blind spot is, Brother Eddie. You know what a blind spot is when you're driving? Yes, sir. Come on, Brother Dante, you know what a blind spot is. I mean, I caught one yesterday. When somebody's right up next to you, and you can see through the rear view, because obviously always closer than the head people. That'll preach right there. But look in the rear view mirror, but then you try to make your left, and you say, hold up now. Because I didn't catch that vehicle in my blind spot. Blind spots are that wave of, we can see what we can see, but we don't know what we can't see. But there's a difference between a blind spot where you can't see someone and a system of intentional blindness that erases someone. I said there's a difference between a blind spot when you can't see someone and a system of intentional blindness where you erased someone's existence and made them invisible. Some of y'all will know Ralph Ellison's work with this name, Invisible Man, about the experiences of a black man growing up in a city in America, unseen, unheard, undervalued. This is what James is saying that the church has done to the poor and to the marginalized. James is saying that to a scattered people living throughout the diaspora, living under Roman occupation and oppression, they have begun to live a life that reflects the colonizer. They've begun to live a life that reflects the reality of the world around them. So when folk come in dressed a certain way, got their nice church suit on, got their gators on, and came in for church. Well, brother, come on up and sit right here because we got a spot just for you. Or when a young white couple comes in with their plaid on and their skinny jeans on and nothing like new money in the church. Come on, please, come on up. We got a spot just for you. Or when our blipster, y'all do know what a blipster is, a black hipster comes to the church and they looking fresh and clean. Please, sister, please, my brother, please, love brother, we got a spot. Oh, I ain't got on your road yet. Oh, when the mother comes in with her hat fried down and laid to the side, mother, her church pearls on, we got a spot. Just for you. Come on, say it to somebody in here. Amen. This is what James is saying that we do. It's natural to us. It just comes out. It's a part of what happens when you're like a fish swimming in water. You don't even know you're swimming in discrimination. You don't even know you're swimming in difference and dominance. You don't even know you're swimming in land that has been polluted, in water that has been polluted by lead. This is what the church does to the voices of our kids in church. This is what the church does to the voices of black folk, of women, of queer folk, of non-binary folk. This is what the church does to those suffering with mental illness. Oh, I'm still by myself. This is what church does to those who happen to have not been born in a privileged, wealthy, middle class to upper middle class family. James is warning the church then and is warning the church now to be careful about how easily and quickly we judge one another. Because judgment only gets a little better when it's done in Jesus' name. Judgment is cool when we can find a couple little scriptures to back up the way that we want to express our judgment. So it's one thing to have a blind spot and not see someone. It's another thing to erase their existence and even the memory of their existence. I don't need to remind you all this is what we've done to our native loved ones. I don't need to remind you all this is what we've done to our queer loved ones. I don't need to remind you all this is what we do to the descendants of African kings and queens who first arrived on the shores of this country 400 years ago in 1619. But I don't need to remind you this is what we're doing right now in Clay Terrace, in Kenilworth, as we were just there on Friday night. Buildings boarded up, gotta go visit loved ones who are trying to find out where they're gonna have to live next. I need to remind y'all, this is what we did in certain quarters, what we did in Arthur Capers with my classmates at Brent. But before I knew it, we could go to Brent or to Gideon. And before I knew it, Gideon then got turned into a results gym, y'all. And they tore Capers down. And then they messed around and somehow under the building caught on fire and all the folk have been displaced. Still don't know what happened. Ran into a brother this past week, one of the seniors living in the Capers, in the new Capers building. He's still trying to figure out what's going on. They tore the building down. Erasing memory. Erasing our existence. Living in a city that's not willing to face Am I still doing all right with y'all this morning?
Yeah. Go on, Pastor.
So James is here to remind us that it's one thing to have a blind spot. It's another thing to be willfully and intentionally blind. Sister Alexia reminded us last week of how many of us in the black community refuse to see and recognize the bodies of our brown loved ones at the border. Because we have accepted the narrative that they come to take our jobs. And so we're walking down 14th Street and we're rolling by the Pupuseria, we're going to turn the other way. Or when they're trying to cross the street through the white crosswalk that we know means stop, we're going to speed up when they coming. But when the white dude cross the street, we slow down. Or when one of us cross the street, one of our own folk cross the street, we like, get out my way. That ain't just a blind spot, beloved.
That's right.
These are the ways that we have intentionally embraced blindness. Sometimes we can't say amen, just say ouch.
Ouch.
So this is what we do. I was just, this past Wednesday, I was with some loved ones at Brookland Manor as we went to pack out the courthouse down in the D.C. Court of Appeals. And we had loved ones, seniors, and moms who took off work to go down and pack the courthouse. There should be a picture up. You'll see that the residents had to take off work and pack out the courthouse in order to try to retain their housing. They were told, when the developer came into their community, they were told they would have the right to return. And so when the developer went into the community, they sold that notion of, don't worry, you'll be able to come back. Yeah, you have the right to return, but it's not at this price. You got the right to return, but now we got to turn your 1-bedroom into a 3-bedroom. So we're going to help you figure out how to relocate. We promise you have the right to return. James is saying, do you not know that these are the people who drag you into court? That these are the people who drag you into court, James says. But yet you cannot stop preferring them and their ways. These are folks that are displacing our loved ones, our cousins, our friends, our families. And yet you can't wait to try to become their neighbor and live beside. It's hard. It's a hard word, but help me. How many of us can't conceive our own complicitness in a way of judgment, in a way of blindness, in a way of discrimination? Kids, y'all probably heard about it. We had a situation just on Friday where a little girl had her locks cut off at school. Kids pinned a little girl down and cut her locks off, her dreadlocks off at school. How many of y'all have ever experienced being bullied at school? How many of y'all are the one that has been bullied at school? How many of y'all have been the one who has stood by while something was happening at school that was bad and you knew it was bad, but you didn't say anything? This is what happens when we create cultures of discrimination, cultures of judgment. A few of us are organizing to go down to that school in Fairfax on this coming Tuesday at 5 o'clock. If any of y'all are interested in coming, we going. 5 o'clock this coming Tuesday. More information, we'll send it out on how we can show up for that family. Then, our brother James, as he likes to do, comes and messes us up. Right in the midst of where we're like, yeah, that's right. They do drag us in the court. And they all oppressing us. They are the ones that scattered us. Here comes James. Here he comes, y'all. Y'all ready to hear him? James ends this passage by inviting us, he says, keep the royal, y'all heard Camille, she said, keep the royal law found in Scripture to love your neighbor as yourself. How do we respond to these things? James ends by saying, speak and act as those who are going to be judged by the law that gives freedom, because judgment without mercy will be shown to anyone who has not been merciful. And then he just flat out says, like it's a mic drop, mercy triumphs over judgment. I would drop it. It wasn't going to break. It wasn't going to break. I would drop it. And what's so curious about this, when you look at the Greek language that he's writing, he doesn't say, James doesn't write that there's a law of freedom, that there is no judgment, that there will be judgment without mercy shown to anyone who has not been merciful. He doesn't say God. He doesn't say therefore mercy triumphs over judgment. He's not trying to build an argument. He just simply says, I don't care what you've heard me say before. I need you to understand, period, point, dot. Mercy triumphs over judgment. I mean, let me tell you right now. I mean, if you the kid that had your dreadlocks cut off, or that was your baby, come on, parents. Okay, singles, if that was your niece, come on here now. If that was my nephew, we got a problem. Houston, we got a problem. Okay? If you're the one that was kicked out of your apartment, if a developer told you you had the right to return and turn around and switch that thing up on you, and here comes James, Brother Sean, talk about mercy. Lord have mercy. That's all I can say. Is Lord have mercy. But listen to what James is saying. James is saying what he's been saying, which is what Reverend Alexia reminded us of last week. That when we look in the mirror, we cannot forget who we are. When we look in the mirror, we can't forget who we are. When we look in the mirror, we can't forget who we are. When we look in the mirror, y'all, we can't forget who we are. And when we look in the mirror, we can't forget who we were. Amen. My sister is so proud because over the last year, she's been working hard on her diet. She's working hard on her exercise. And like every other week, she's posting on Instagram her before and her after pictures. You know, come on here, somebody. Ain't nobody know what I'm talking about. My brother Terrence down in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, he's got 4 kids, and that husband spread was starting to act up on him. And so he went all the way in on that what they call that caveman diet. What they call it? The paleo diet. Somebody know about it. He went all the way in on that thing. He had a before and an after picture. Come on in here, somebody. Your pastor's been running with some brothers down in Anacostia Park for the last year and changing up my diet. And I ain't taking no pictures, but I got it before. 25 pounds later, I got it before, and thank God I got it after. All right. But what we cannot do when we look at ourselves is only think about us and the after. We have a tendency, all of us have a tendency to want mercy for ourselves and judgment for somebody else. We are hardwired to look at our after picture and begin to believe the lie that you've always been 75 pounds lighter. Come on in here, don't tell no lies. That you've always had your stuff together, that you've always we look ourselves in the mirror, James says, don't forget who you are. Because when we do, James warns us that that same level of judgment is what will be meted out upon us. That's a warning for us. That's a warning for us. God help us in here. James is saying that we can never allow ourselves to descend to the level of those who oppress us. Because the reality is that, like Paul, we were once the brother who was holding the coat while Stephen was being stoned. Are you hearing me in here? And that's why Paul always says that I'm a Hebrew born on the 8th day. I have every right to proclaim my bona fides. You want to see my resume? It's in order. You want to see my CV? Click, I send it to you. But understand who I was. I know who I was. I haven't forgotten what I've done. Amen. It was the same God that found me in the midst of my sin, that found me in the midst of my brokenness, that found me in my blindness. And Acts says that the scales were removed from his eyes. And once the scales have been removed, once you are sitting in your after picture, don't forget your before. That's right, that's right. For it's when we do that we become the monster that we're fighting against. Are y'all hearing me today? It's the worst thing I think that we can do is to become the bully that bullied us. The worst. It feels good though in the moment, don't it? Man, it feels good. When you get them a good shot to the body, you feel good right there. And then 2 weeks later, you found, because you smell yourself, I'm just only going to be honest again. Because you smell yourself, you see somebody else in the hallway. And before you know it, you're done. Where you going, bruh? Let me get that steak you about to have for lunch. Anybody hearing me? Yeah. What a tragedy it is to become the very thing that you despise. Yeah. That's judgment. Yeah. The Bible speaks about judgment in a couple different ways, and I just want to highlight one way real quick, and then I'm finished. One way the Bible talks about judgment is found in Ezekiel chapter 22, and I'm just gonna read it real quick. God comes to Ezekiel, to the prophet, and says to Ezekiel that the streets are filled with blood. Lord have mercy. I want to start reading at verse 23 in chapter 22. If you have your Bible, just track with me because I didn't give this to the AV team to put up behind me. Verse 23 just says, again the word of the Lord came to me, son of man, and say to the land, you are a land that has not been cleansed or rained on in the day of wrath. There has been a conspiracy of princes within her like a roaring lion tearing its prey. They devour people. They take treasures and precious things and make many widows within her. Her priests do violence to my law and profane my holy things. They do not distinguish between the holy and the common. They teach that there is no difference between unclean and the clean. And they shut their eyes to the keeping of my Sabbath so that I am profaned among them. Her officials within her, he's talking about Jerusalem, are like wolves tearing their prey. They shed blood and kill people to make unjust gain. Her prophets whitewash these deeds for them by false visions and lying divinations. They say, this is what the sovereign Lord says, when the Lord has not spoken. The people of the land practice extortion and commit robbery. They oppress the poor and needy and mistreat the foreigner, denying them justice. I looked for someone among them who would build up the wall and stand before me in the gap on behalf of the land so that I would not have to destroy it. But I found no one. So I will pour out my wrath on them and consume them with my fiery anger, bringing down on their heads all that they have done, declares the sovereign Lord. There's a lot there that I don't have time to unpack. Read it when you get a chance. Ezekiel chapter 22. It's a perfect description of what's happening with police brutality and police corruption. It's a perfect description of what's happening with preachers who are prophesying in God's name. It's a perfect description of what's happening as we are killing one another in the streets. He says the streets are filled with blood, but here's what I want you to understand. When Ezekiel is talking about extortion and bribery and corruption, he's describing oppression. He's describing humiliation. He's describing bloodshed. But it is not the Assyrians who are practicing this bloodshed. It is not the Egyptians who are practicing this bloodshed. It wasn't nobody in Montgomery County who was doing it, y'all. It wasn't nobody in PG who was doing it. It was the folk in positions of power in Israel, in Jerusalem, who had become what they were delivered from. Oh, you remember in the book of Exodus chapter 2, verse 28, when the people of Israel were crying out and saying, God, my God, Pharaoh is oppressing me. I need you to set me free. So many of us have got used to crying out, God, my God, I need you to set me free. And when God does set you free, and when God does bring you through, and when God does deliver you, what have you done with what God has blessed you with? Who have you become? Who are you radically sharing what you prayed for? You asked God, He delivered you. God came through for you. And then Ezekiel says, it's you who have become corrupt. Yeah. It's you who have forgotten who you are. It's you who have become what you despise. And this is the judgment that God is speaking of. The judgment is how sad it is that I can't stop what you have started. When we think about judgment, we tend to think as though God is coming down and, messing some stuff up. But the kind of judgment that Ezekiel says is coming, it says, I'm bringing down on your own heads what you have done. This is the kind of judgment that James is speaking of. When James simply ends the passage, verse 13, when he simply says, because judgment without mercy will be shown to those who have not been merciful. You've become just like the people who drug you into court. You've become just like your ancestors who enslaved my people. You've become just like the African traders who traded them to your ancestors, to their ancestors. You've become just like the people that Bear Rustin and Dorothy Height and Fannie Lou Hamer fought to deliver us from. What a tragedy it is to forget your before and only focus on the after. So Audre Lorde simply comes as that great feminist poet, and she puts it like this. She simply says, you cannot dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. I'll say it again because I don't know if it's up behind me or not. I sent it to him, but I don't know if it's up there. Simply says, you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools.
That's right. Amen.
And so if it was violence and bloodshed and corruption and oppression that built the house, We don't take the house apart by using violence and corruption and exclusion.
That's right.
That's why when we call folk out and we cancel them folk, we got to stop being real careful because we in danger of being about to be called out and canceled ourselves.
Right.
When we start to think that it's only those folk who got a problem in the church, and I'm woke, and I get it, but you can't love your brother who is where you was 8 years ago. You can't love your sister who's where you was 2 years ago.
Man.
Just because you started quoting such and such and thus on Twitter, man, you got it together? Hello in here. I'm talking to myself and to y'all. Sister Alicia Garza helped me out so much with this. Alicia is one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, sister from Oakland. And she helped me with this in an article she wrote on Life a few years ago when she was trying to decide, am I going to this women's march? Am I going to go to this women's march? Is this thing just a thing for white women to put their hats on, or can a sister who is queer and black show up in this space? That's what she was trying to figure out. It was a lot of folks trying to figure out with church. Can I really show up as my full self in church? That's what she was trying to figure out. Anybody who's struggling with that? Can I come to church and be honest about my mental illness? Can I come to church and be honest I'm struggling with depression? Can I come to church and be honest with that I'm queer? Can I come to church and be honest that I'm poor? Can I come to church and be honest that actually I'm super rich? Can I come to church and be honest that I don't like y'all only speaking English? I'm struggling with even understanding what you're saying right now, Pastor. I mean, you're talking too fast. Every time you talk too fast, everybody else is laughing and responding, and I'm laughing late because I'm trying to translate. Hello in here, somebody. Here's how she helped me. She simply said, I remember who I was before I gave my life to the movement. Someone was patient with me. Someone saw that I had something to contribute. Someone stuck with me. Someone did the work to increase my commitment. Someone taught me how to be accountable. Someone opened my eyes to the root causes of the problems we face. Someone pushed me to call forward a vision for the future. Someone trained me to bring other people who were looking for a movement into one. Paul simply puts it like this. In Ephesians chapter 2, he simply says, it is by grace that we have been saved.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It is a gift of God so that nobody can boast.
Amen.
But then Paul goes on and says, but yet, once you've been saved, once you can say you have grace, then he says that there ought to be some fruit that this call has called you to do beforehand. Are you hearing me? This is the balance that we're trying to seek between judgment for what is wrong and mercy for the fact that we all are complicit in the wrong. So as we call out the wrong, we have to learn how to call each other in. Once I see you wrong, I have to still be willing to see that in your face is the face of Almighty God. In your image, I'm looking at a reflection of God. God made you. God, raise your hand if you made yourself. I want to see you. I want to get a really good look at you. A really good look at you. James is simply saying to us, beloved, as I close, I'm going to call the band up, that mercy triumphs over judgment. Now, as we call each other out, we're calling ourselves out.
Yeah.
And as we call each other in, we're calling ourselves into.
That's right.
So I'm just talking to the 2 or 3 folk who've actually been through something. This message won't resonate with you if you've been perfect your whole life. I'm going to just say that right now. This message will not resonate with you if you're the type of person where you still stuck on stupid. You still stuck on, well, I've been following Jesus my whole life. I'm not tired yet. Paul says, if I want to give that testimony, I'll give that testimony too. But God knocked me off of my high horse, literally, put me on the ground and said, why are you persecuting me? Remove the scales from my eyes, and now I can see who I was. How dare I go back? And how dare I treat somebody else who is where I was as though God does not have the power to save them? Jesus simply said, why are you focusing on respecting somebody else's life and you got a log in yours? Here's how Dr. King put it, and I'll finish. Dr. King simply said that this is the hate that grows out of fear and pride and ignorance and prejudice and misunderstanding. But in spite of this, we know God's image is ineffably etched in their being. Then we love our enemies by realizing that they are not totally bad and that they are not beyond the reach of God's redemptive love. As I close, I want us to see that James is reminding us to act as those who are going to be judged by the law that gives freedom. Well, if we fail to do that, we forgot who we are. We have looked at the mirror and forgotten who we are. We will never be a people who know the mercy of our God. When Jesus comes, that final hour, we're not going to receive mercy. Matthew writes in Matthew chapter 7, verse 21, that there are many who organize. They're going to say, Jesus, I organized in your name. I healed the sick in your name. I raised the dead in your name. I did 90 acts of miracles in your name. And Jesus says, depart from me, for I know you not. You were doing stuff in my name, but you lost the relationship to the mercy that saved you, that delivered you, and that set you free. Amen? Amen. Before we do this song, I just want to lead us in a simple prayer. It's a prayer that's been prayed by the church for, 2,000 years. It's just called the Jesus prayer. It comes out of Egypt. It comes out of some of the desert mothers and desert fathers in Egypt. It's very simple. And I just want you to repeat after me. It says, Lord Jesus, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus, have mercy on me. Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Have mercy.